chat, how's it going? Here, let me turn down a little bit more. So, we're gonna do, BadEmpanada has been going nuts lately. BadEmpanada has been going hard, okay? And, pointing out some stuff that, like, honestly, I'm surprised people didn't catch on to before, right? Hey Sabrina, how are you doing? So yeah, we're here, we're ready to go with this content for you. BadEmpanada has come back to watch the anime girl, and this time it's really not good, right? This time BadEmpanada finds something really like hard to resolve with like who people think that Eris is, right? And hard to resolve with anybody who, you know, has, you know, a respect for human rights, right? That anyway, it's Israel-Palestine, right? This is Eris talking about Western civilization now, using that dog whistle, you know, in the context of that. So let's take a look at this. This has been going on. If you haven't, he hasn't gone nuts. He always was nuts. Oh, okay. Well, I didn't know empanadas could have nuts, but I guess there's different kinds of empanadas then. Anyway, so yeah, I don't even know about BadEmpanada's history or anything like that, but this is yeah, I just wanted to, this clip has been going around the internet. Some people, you know, clipped it separately, like from the BadEmpanada video, and then there's also a BadEmpanada clip of it that's going around the internet, and people are starting to recognize, like, this person who's taken as a leftist. That's what's so fucked up about aristocracy, right? Is that because of who she hung out with, she exploited the social game of Twitch politics in order to kind of, you know, camouflage herself as something other than what she is. And she's gotten in with a lot of leftist creators. And somehow they look at her and all they see is anime girl, must be one of ours. If you've ever been to 4chan, you should know better. You should know better than to think that an anime girl is one of ours. It's like being like, oh, a brony, must be one of ours. That is not, that you cannot assume, oh, a femboy must be one of ours. You can't make those assumptions, right? You cannot make those assumptions, right? And people have been making those assumptions, but let's take a look at what BE has to say today about this aristocracy clip that's been going around. Oh, here it is.
With Jewish immigration, Zionist immigration, Palestine, was that it was specifically with the goal of taking large swaths of land and taking them for the exclusive use of Jews in order to form an ethnostate. That was the issue that people had from the very beginning. She's trying to frame it like as some sort of modern anti-immigrant.
Okay, so chat, I want you to take a look at something. Look, I'm going to scroll down here. Look at the likes to dislikes, right? There's a few dislikes, but there's mostly likes here, right? Watch this space. Watch this space, because I'm going to tell you something. Aristocracy brigade shit like no one I've ever seen. She brigaded me back in the day, right? And, you know, came at me hostile and then purposely misinterpreted something I said about, you know, if you're going to do content about me, I can do content about you, as like a threat. As like not just a threat to do content, but a threat to do harm, right? She's ridiculous. And she's craven, and you know, people are starting to see this, right? But watch this space, watch these things, because the last video I did on aristocracy, right, had like a you know, 95% or something, you know, upvotes to downvotes, and then the brigade hit, right? The brigade hit, and it's at like 43% right now. So yeah, they gotta cope. Anytime that bad content gets made about their little anime waifu, they gotta come by and they gotta brigade and they gotta cope. So, you know, if you're from Eris's channel and you came here to cope, go ahead and give me that downvote, because guess what? It increases engagement. So, fine. So be it. You wanna downvote me? We know what you're doing. You're coping.
Immigrant thing, when clearly it very much wasn't. The problem was that these people were coming there and settling with the goal of eventually forming a sort of Jewish-dominated state that would either oppress or exclude the non-Jewish population. That is the issue with the formation of Israel, okay?
I know lefties normally love that. Though for some reason they make an exception when it comes to...
There never would have been any issue with the formation of Israel, at least nowhere near on the level that it's an issue now, if they had not insisted on like 2 states. That was a solution that the vast majority of the population that had been living there continuously for far longer never agreed to and never remotely wanted. That's the issue. A 1-state solution with full citizenship for everyone would have been totally fine.
The Israeli-Palestinian conflict. But that's when the conflict really begins. But that doesn't mean that the seeds of the conflict weren't there beforehand. So in a way, like, the area of Palestine has always had a lot of problems for thousands of years. As I've talked about. So I think that that's why people say it goes on for thousands of years. It's really just kind of like a language thing. But where I really agree with Vox here is that it's not, the core of the issue is not religious. Like, religion adds fuel to the fire. That's how I'll describe it. But the fire...
Right, the core of the issue here is the settler-colonial relation between people who essentially came in and took a bunch of land, you know, to rule themselves from its original owners, in many cases, when the people who had lived there for much longer than the majority of these people, of this other group, didn't want that to happen. That's the fundamental beginning of the conflict, but she's gonna frame it in a different way.
Will exist with or without religion. It's very much about ethnic groups, like, claiming the same land.
It's not just about ethnic groups claiming the same land. You got one of these groups that clearly came with the intent to take a lot of the land for themselves. At least most of the people.
What's up, cheek clapping?
Of that group, or who imagine themselves to belong to that group, came with that intention. And
I think that BE says something like that, a cheek clapping later in the video, yeah.
a much larger group that had lived there continuously for far longer that didn't want.
Big Joel said on Twitter, YouTube is rolling out a program where only the video creator can see downvotes. Oh, because the feature was used for harassment. Yeah, well, for brigading, which Aristocracy does on a regular basis. Oh my god, thank you so much. Oh my god, my first membership. Joni, welcome. Welcome to the Alf Gang. Oh, you're signed up for What? Wait a minute. That's like the highest level. What the fuck, Joni? Oh my god, you're gonna make me work. So here's the deal. What is that? That's a membership, okay? This is a thing that YouTube had that I never activated. I finally got around to it. You can become a member. Do you see how Joni is using emotes? I think that Joni's got the full complement of emotes. And there's like a lot of stuff that comes with it. This is gonna be some work for me, chat, but I don't mind. It's work that I don't mind doing. For people that support me, I will do some work for you, right? I will do some content that like I think that you will appreciate more than the general audience out there. There's content that I can't do on YouTube just because it's not algorithm friendly. That's really interesting, cool stuff, right? And I'm gonna try to start doing more of that. Like I think we've got some like member only streams and stuff like that. But yeah, the NoCom. Wait, because we got, it's like, okay, so here's the 3 levels, $2.99, I sound like I'm selling something, I'm just like, let me fucking, I hate, chat, this is the one thing I hate about, like, this job, like, I am no good at promoting myself, but I'm supposed to do it anyway, so, yeah, like and subscribe, I never remember to say that, donate to my Patreon, I never say that, but this is, like, so we got 3 levels, $2.99 is, a basic membership, which makes you, what the fuck is my basic membership called? I don't remember because it's so basic. It's not basic bitch, chat. I promise I won't call you basic bitch for being a, because I appreciate all my members and people who can't donate. Like, listen, if you can't donate, it's not that I don't want you here. It's not like I'm trying to, you know, lean into you on that. If you don't have money, I fucking understand that. I don't have money either. So like, I completely feel you. There's a lot of streamers I would like to support if I had money that I can't. So, but yeah, then the second one is, Secret Halo. That's the Secret Halo Club, you know, and that's $6.99. And I think that the one that Joni got was oh, Weird Champ. Yeah, the first one is you're just a Weird Champ, and that gets you all the emotes. So, you know, that's like all the fun stuff. We put the fun stuff down low, you know, that we knew that you'd like, and then we put the really cool stuff up high, like a wallpaper, a nocommentchick wallpaper. Yes, it will be done now. It will be done, so mote it be. Anyway, I just want to, yeah, and that one's $24.99. I don't expect anybody to buy that, but by all means, if you want to support me that way, I very, very much appreciate it, right? You know, whatever level you can support me on, or if you just want to be here and like and subscribe and do that kind of fun stuff, share the videos, you know, all that stuff helps me. And I appreciate everybody. Okay, not just, you know, even if you just come here and chat, right? You're still cool in my book. I don't want anybody to think that I'm like leaning on you to, you know, give me money. So meow meow.
The other group to just take like half of it for their own exclusive use. Very simple stuff.
It's a geopolitical land issue. You take religion out of the picture, and I guarantee you it will still be a problem. Maybe not as intense of a problem, but it will still be an issue.
And it really only goes back about a century to the early 1900s. Around then, the region along the eastern Mediterranean we now call Israel-Palestine, been under Ottoman...
No, Zionism actually would totally exist without Judaism. A lot of people have a misunderstanding. So Judaism is the religion of the Jewish people, but the Jewish people exist without that religion. And I think that that is one of the larger misconceptions. I think people have this idea, and it's probably a Christian idea or a Muslim idea, right?
Because I mean, the Jewish people are defined by their religion. The idea of a Jewish people is a religious one. If it wasn't, then there wouldn't be such a you know.
Here's the one place that I'm not going to be able to agree, because I'm not this well versed in Jewish culture, right? BE is going to argue that the Jewish culture is based around the Jewish religion. I think that what Eris is talking about is alluding to the idea that, you know, a lot of Jewish people are atheists, but they call themselves Jews. It's not, you know, it's a culture. It's not about, you know, they could be completely, you know, not into the religion, and it's still, you know, like, it doesn't make them not Jews, right? So I don't know. I don't have the lived experience to know this stuff. So I'm gonna have to defer to somebody who does, if there's anybody in the audience who does, because like I am not the person to answer this question.
Continuation for thousands of years. That's why we call it an ethno-religion, and not just like, do I need to speed her up even more? She's already sped up. Okay, I will.
Christianity and Islam they're purely religions. Anyone can become that. They're not based on some kind of ancestry or anything like that. Whereas being Jewish is much more like being Romani or being being indigenous, right? Like a part of an indigenous.
Being indigenous.
Tribe. It's like you can trace your lineage to a tribe, right? You were kicked out of your indigenous homeland, and some people.
Indigenous homeland. I've said this before, but the settler-colonial relation has to do with more immediacy, right? It's not like I was kicked out of this place 2,000 years ago, or I imagine that I have a connection to my distant ancestors who were kicked out of this place 2,000 years ago. Ergo, I have a right to come here and take the land from the people who already live there. That's not how it works. Whatever imagined connection you have with 2,000 people 2,000 years ago is valid as my imagined connection to fucking Alexander. It's not real. What makes the Jews who moved to Palestine during this period in the late 19th, early 20th century settlers has nothing to do with ancestry and everything to do with the fact that they moved there and stole the land, literally settling and colonizing the land. In their own words, they said that, from the people who had lived there continuously for much longer than they had. The continuity is the most important part.
People have the religion, some people don't. A lot of people still have aspects of the culture, but that kind of thing. It's a very, very different dynamic. That's why it's called an ethno-religious group and not just a religious group. So that's why Zionism would exist without Judaism, because even if all Jews were atheists, right, it doesn't actually affect their historical connection.
This is like a really auxiliary point. It doesn't really fit with anything that we're talking about. But if all Jews were atheists, then like Jewishness as something that people strongly identify with would wither away within a few generations. It's an ethno-religion.
And
I'm not saying that
I can't comment on that.
That's a positive or negative thing in any respect at all. Just that's what would happen. Like she thinks that there's like some sort of innate Jewishness or something that people have, but it's like any other culture. It's intrinsically linked with the religion. The most important part of Jewish culture is essentially religious.
Right, to the region. The same way, if a bunch of indigenous Canadians, like from say like the Mohawk tribe, suddenly stopped believing in their Mohawk religion, I'm not sure about the details of what they believe in, they wouldn't suddenly stop claiming Canada as, you know, their home.
So she's trying to link that to like 2,000-year-old claim. Now, I'll tell you right now, if Mohawk people were like kicked out of their original homeland, lived in Europe for like 2,000 years, you know, across like 20 generations, 25 generations, and then said, okay, we're going to go back to Canada and claim our land, it's still ours, that would be fucking ridiculous. What gives the Mohawk people a claim to
I was confused for a second there.
A claim.
I was confused for a second there, but there was an if state. That was an if statement. If the Mohawks had the Mohawk people had you know, moved to Europe for
into their land.
I was like, trying to figure that out. I was
Still,
like, wait,
is the
did that
fact
happen?
Still an
Do I
extant
just that
people who
ignorant?
are
No,
the
that wasn't the
continuation of the
statement.
same people whose land this was stolen from, reclaiming that land from the exact same state that stole it from them. In the case of Israel, there are Jews who absolutely are as indigenous in the sense of the settler colonial relation to that land as Muslims or Christians are. That's why a lot of them identified as Palestinian Jews up until the formation of Israel. But that doesn't mean that everyone who shares a religion or an imagined ethnicity with them gets to move there and claim that it's equally theirs as it is for the Jews who have continuously lived there for 2,000.
So BadEmpanada is staking this argument on the principle of continuity, like that that it's that's what makes the you know, because like there is an argument, right, and it's pretty disingenuous that like, oh well, you know, this was the traditional, you know, homeland of the Jewish people, so therefore, you know, this is the decolonialization. And I mean, it doesn't, I mean, that obviously, you know, is a little bit, you know, ridiculous on its face, and does end up like, you know, walking all over the people that were there. And there, like BE said, there are Jewish people who trace their, you know, who were there before the settlements and before Israel, right? That do have like a claim to that continuity. But I think what BE is talking in favor of, the overarching thing, just to kind of you know, give us the big picture, is BE wants a one-state solution. In other words, everybody in the area comes together, forms a society, and votes, right? And Eris is saying no, because, you know, there's more, you know, there'd be more Palestinians then, right? And you know, she's gonna go some interesting places with that concern, right? That's where this gets a little dicey, right?
Yes, that's not how this works. It's a material relation. It's not some sort of mystical relation. It's not about imagination. It's about your actual.
The way he puts it is like the Anglo-Saxons would have a claim to their, it could come in and take their spot in
relation
Germany
to the
again.
land in immediate terms.
Because that's still their historical home. So it's not really
Historical home. That's essentially just based on nothing but mythology.
as much about religion as you think. There's also a lot of religious reasons why you wouldn't support, Jewish religion reasons why you wouldn't support the creation of a modern Israeli state, as initially
This
Zionism.
is going to take fucking forever. This is going to take forever because like it's such a long video and I have
Let's
to
push it.
respond in such detail.
It actually
So
What was that download
let's see if we can
button?
get to the good parts.
Chat, what is that download button? Is that if you have YouTube Plus or something, or is there like a plugin?
Dissecting
I don't have one of those.
1947, 1948. Let's see.
Okay, so this was the original allocation of land. Remember, the Arabs rejected it. Okay, and they started a war.
So the Arabs rejected the allocation of land and they started war. This is a talking point often used by Zionists, and it's important that we dissect this. The Arabs here, as in
If the Anglo-Saxons kicked the Germans out because their ancestors owned the land.
like the Christian, Muslim.
Well, I mean, I think she's gonna, you know, she's gonna also rest it on the 1967 conflict and the rejection of, I guess, this offer, and
Palestinians never agreed
bring a few
to
more
this
things into
partition.
the
It was a one-sided
argument.
partition done on their behalf by foreign powers who, by the way, were lobbied incessantly by Zionist organizations to accept it. They rejected it because it was it's fundamentally unjust to be like, hey, half of your land, we're giving half of your lands to people who 80-90% of them quite recent migrants. You know, we're dividing this land that has not been divided and giving half of it to these people on an ethno-religious basis and essentially making you second-class citizens in their new country that we're giving them. That's why this was so contentious. They never agreed to it. You can't just make a deal like this based on one side. It doesn't matter how much international support you have, you're excluding the other party from it completely. You know, it's not legitimized because the fucking British Empire agreed to it. It's not legitimized because the great powers of the UN agreed to it. Only after incessant lobbying from Zionists, by the way, did they agree to it. The problem is that they divided this land. It's not that they were there. Sure, I mean,
every time somebody says British Empire now, I think of Haas.
the immigration would have
If you don't know, Haas has picked up like a weird like LaRouche thing that's just like blames everything. I mean, like, granted, it was an empire, it did imperialism, it did colonialism, but like, yeah, Haas will just go to like, you know, like, oh no, America's under the British Empire. Like, it's a right-wing thing with Haas, right?
Undoubtedly cause ethnic tensions and shit, but
There are still Saxons in Germany, but yes, it would be ridiculous.
the fundamental problem of the formation of the Israeli state
Hey, what's
is
up,
that
CJ?
it divided the land,
Freya?
and that the most of the population there who had lived there continuously
Nothing much, just watching BE and the anime girl.
for much longer than most of the people who claim this new state never agreed to it. So now she's gonna be like the Arabs
Have you seen this clip going around?
invaded, right?
The war starts. Israel wins the war. They should not have won the war. Okay, in fact,
The
most
war
people would
starts,
bet against
Israel
them.
wins,
There's a
it
lot of
wins
reasons
the
why
war.
they ended up
Nothing
winning
more,
it.
nothing
The
more
primary
to it, right?
reason is because of the arms help from Czechoslovakia and the Soviet Union. Because the Soviet Union at the time was hoping for Israel to become communist because they were very lefty. So Israel ends up winning.
There are Anglos in too in Germany.
Kind of, it's a fascinating.
I'm pretty sure the reason that the Soviet Union supported Israel was
I don't know. She seems pretty at odds with me, but
because they had hope that like Israeli leftists could end up creating like a unified communist state from all of
like, chat, she said some fucked up shit about me.
Palestine. Not that they could form like an Israeli ethno-state. And obviously they were wrong about that.
I love 1948.
because-
Like, we've caught her lying about me. We've proven that she was lying about me. We've caught her, you know, spreading transphobic tropes about me. I mean, she's a mess. She's not. I don't understand how so much of like left, you know, Twitch is like cool with her. And the only thing I can figure out is they see an anime girl and they say, ah, one of us, right? And that's a weird way to grok things. That's a really weird way to grok things because it should be about ideology. And if you actually take Eris seriously as a content creator with an ideology, and you ask yourself, what is that ideology? You cannot convince yourself through deductive logic that it's on the left, right? You can't do that. It just does not work. And we're about to see how far on the right her ideology is in some cases, right?
They were really lefty. They obviously
Yeah.
were not really lefty. Like, give me a fucking break.
I shouldn't say it because in a way,
She tried to use the trans women are violent shit on me, right? She tried to use, and you know what? If you feed that to a Twitch audience, if you feed that to basically Gamergate, they'll eat it right up. They will eat it right out of your hands, right?
there's so many awful things that happen in the year. But I find it
I
a
love
fascinating one. First of all, it's a very long.
1948. She loves the Nakba was fucking awesome.
The Shining Path. Yeah, B's got a video about that. You know me, I don't care about what political side someone's on. I just care if they're trying to kind of like, you know, do entryism, right? That's a little bit worrying to me.
Dude, I love it.
It's a long war for such a small region, and on top of that,
Because that's what ends up happening is you connect a right-wing creator that's connected to a larger right-wing clout network, and I don't think I have to mention what network that is, right? And you plug it right into to left Twitch, and now they can cancel whoever they want within the left through that. You know what I mean? Now they've got like a way to, you know, affect that realm, right?
I know, surprise win for the USSR.
And
But
all she has to do is, you know, be uwu, and it's like, oh yeah, one of us, right? One of us. She, like, I swear to God, here's what I'm gonna say. Spicy take. I think that left Twitch is a little bit sexist towards Eris, right? I think that because she's a woman, and because she is an anime avatar, I think that people don't take her seriously. And you should. She's a political streamer. She's not. I mean, she might be a VTuber, but she's not doing like, you know, cutesy. You know what I mean? She's doing content, right? And so you gotta take her seriously. And if she says something that's fucking yikes, you gotta take that seriously too. And that's where she slides by on, right? Is the fact that people don't like people underrate. Like, I mean, she's really smart. She's incredibly smart. She knows a lot about history. She's got a fucking PhD in it, right? And people still treat her like she's like some, you know, anime chick, right? Like that she's got, you know, no, I don't know. I honestly think that left Twitch is kind of sexist against Eris, and that, like, you know, that ends up making them sort of blind to, you know, who she is, right? They just, like, you know, don't really pay much attention to her.
it's really ironic, of course, because the USSR ends up becoming an ally of Egypt against
Wicked Supreme is talking smack. Well,
Israel later on.
Well, I wonder
Which
why
is one of
that
the
might
reasons
be
why
the
Israel
case.
allies with the United States. Fun fact, right? They weren't original good allies. So Israel ends up winning that war, and that war there were so many awful things that happened in that war, and there is still a result of that war is that there's tons of refugees. So there are lots of Jewish refugees, but because Israel wins the war.
She got them in SMH. She needs to stop being platformed. In SMH, I've always taken her seriously. I kind of respected her, even though she is kind of liberal for me. I don't know about any transphobia. Listen, okay, so here's the deal about Eris. Like, I'm really careful with my criticism, right? Because some people will say Eris is a TERF, and she did have an association with some people, maybe along that line of ideology early on. From what I understand, though, she left those people. She's not a part of that, right? So I don't trade in that like rumor, right? Because like we're talking about what's real here, not like what people are saying. We don't just unlike Eris, we don't just pass on unproven claims, right? And that, to me, the idea that Eris is actually a TERF, that's an unproven claim, right? But the idea that she activated the trope of that trans women are violent against me, right? And that's why Twitch believed it, despite her having no fucking proof, despite the actual incident being her coming after me in content and me saying, if you're going to do this to me, I can do this to you. And her take, oh, that's a death threat. No, dude, you were looking for anything. You brigaded me. And, just like you brigaded my last video with BadEmpanada, just like you brigaded Freems the other day. Jesus Christ, woman. Like, people do underrate you. People do take you for granted. I think that they should, and I think there's some sexism in that too. But so as far as trans people, the problems with Eris have been, the activation of transphobic tropes in order to settle a score. Like, she was mad at me, so she lied about me, and she used a transphobic trope to get that lie to catch fire. And then she's also platformed Lacey Green. Are you all familiar with Lacey Green? Do you know who I'm talking about? Now, Lacey Green, is a TERF, right? So she was rehabilitating a TERF and kind of giving her a chance to say, all right, that's I guess Lacey Green's not that bad. No, Lacey Green is that bad, okay? Lacey Green didn't start bad. She was like a sex educator or something like that, right? But she got bad really, she I mean, everybody knows her red pill video and everything like that. Like, she's had a ton of TERFs on. She's, indulged in sort of TERF talking points. Like, basically, Lacey Green, rehabilitating her is doing harm to trans people. So that's my issue. And also ideologically, right? If you're supporting Eris, you got to understand that what you're supporting is at least a vaguely right-wing person. And I don't think that people get that. And I would say that's because people underestimate Eris. Like, they don't even look at her ideology. They just think that she's a one-dimensional. She is kind of a two-dimensional being, but jokes aside, chat, they think that, they look at her as a two-dimensional being, and they don't see that, they don't take her ideology seriously. And we try to talk about discourse. We try to talk about ideology. I'm trying to get away from personal stuff, right? Like the shit that Eris did on me. Right? I'm not gonna come back and do that shit on her and speculate on her connection to Doobie and all that other shit, right? Because I think there's more interesting things to talk about, and that is, her ideology, her takes on these issues. She is a doctor of history, so I think that her viewpoint has to be taken seriously instead of just assumed that because she looks like a lefty. Because I swear to God, that's all it is. That's the only reason. She has lefty friends. She looks like a lefty. People are like, she's a lefty. She's not. She's a right winger. She's not like a lot of other right wingers. I'll admit that, but that doesn't make the analysis of her ideology any different. Lacey Green went full white supremacist or red pill. I don't know about the white supremacist shit. She's definitely yikes. But yeah, she's definitely she went red pill, and she hasn't really come back. Right? But that's what she needs. She needs somebody like Eris, who has a good image for some reason, or had a good image until this clip started circulating on the left, to sort of say, hey, Lacey Green, not so bad, right? And she did that. She did that work. That is kind of what she does. She'll rehabilitate people that probably shouldn't be rehabilitated, and she'll attack victims. That is her specialty, is cross-examining victims of sexual harassment on Twitch. So not anything that I support, but I'm not going to be like the rest of the people on Twitch and try to act like that she doesn't know what she's doing, or she doesn't have an ideology. She does, and it's kind of reprehensible.
the Jewish refugees just moved to other regions within Israel. Especially Israel wins so much territory. You can see how much territory they win. They win territory.
Oh, I see. You followed her for the history, not for the brigading or the like character assassination. That's good.
Near Gaza over here.
Which is just like they won territory. There's no examination of the fact of like whether like territorial expansion via conquest is actually a good thing, a valid thing to do. Just they won territory.
Yeah, Freya, that's wrong for several reasons. That's definitely wrong for several reasons.
It's theirs
Yeah.
now.
They win territory in the northeast.
Good point.
They win territory really close.
And by the way, the reason why there was a war was because of what I just said. There was never any consent from the so-called Arab side, from the Palestinian side, to this. There was no consent.
They won. Yeah, that's what she said. She said they won territory. And like, oh, thank you. That's really sweet, Geek Prime. Thank you. Oh, you're all so sweet. Yeah, yeah. Like the some of the language that she uses here is kind of it's minimizing of the generational trauma that Palestinians has faced based on this colonial project. Right? They won territory. That's somebody's home, Eris. That's not fucking funny.
It was a one-sided agreement that divided their land in two arbitrarily that they never agreed to. So of course they're going to fight back.
It wouldn't be an issue if she did it behind the scene, but it's publicly as content.
And it doesn't matter if you win the subsequent war. They're the ones who are still obvious.
I don't know, Chad. I think that there's a lot of pitfalls in playing therapist, even, just to your friends. The most you can really do is listen to what they have to say. That actually does help people, right? Some people, especially people who are undergoing a lot, who are dealing with stuff that's like unmanageable for them, sometimes they don't ever get heard out. And if you got the time to sit down with your friend and hear them out on what they're dealing with, you're a wonderful person for doing that. I think that where you got to end it, you can listen to them and you can reflect back what they're saying, right? You can say, I'm hearing you say this, right? Because sometimes we don't realize. Sometimes we'll say something to somebody and we won't even realize like what we said. So, you can do those two things for them. But I think beyond that, chat, that is what a therapist is for. And nobody but a therapist should be playing that role. It's a hard job. And it takes a lot of training. And it's not something that should be undertaken in an amateur fashion, right? But yeah, just listening to people, hearing out their stories, especially, like I've been going through a really tough time lately, and there's been some people in my community that have done that for me, and I appreciate that so much, because when you're not able to really express that, you feel like you're going through it all alone. And if you're just able to sort of tell your story to somebody and get them to really listen, like that's it makes you feel a little bit less alone, right?
Obviously in the right there, because they'd never fucking agreed to it. Simple.
To Jerusalem, but not directly, right? And guess who else wins territory? And this is where Vox is being somewhat dishonest, because Israel was not the only winner of the 1948 war. Because there was another country that was created originally by the British.
Oh, Jordan.
Look what's going on here. It's Jordan.
You're being dishonest.
Jordan ends up winning basically all of this territory. So this area is the West.
Yeah, just listening to people and trying to mediate privately isn't much of an issue.
Bank. They win the West Bank. They win Jerusalem.
I mean, saying that they win the territory is also kind of dishonest there, because the reason why they quote unquote won the territory is because basically the Palestinians didn't have any sort of real state structure or military force at this time. So like essentially other Arab nations sort of went to bat on them. You can say it was for their behalf, you can say that it was for their own interest, but either way they clearly were in the right to do so.
And it's never Lebanon.
Yeah, winning the territory like it's a lottery or a sports event, right?
Yeah. Never try it. Don't
It's a
get
little weird,
all
Eris.
these
A
Middle
little
Eastern
bit
countries are very
weird.
different from one another. So Jordan actually wins a lot of these.
Yeah, Britain carved it up. Nobody won it.
To the point.
And this is why like this Vox thing. And when you see a lot of these maps, you know when you see like those maps of like where they show you the shrink. But yeah, it's true. We actually don't know. It's a huge debate between historians right now on what the cause of these. So there were 700,000 refugees that were Palestinian Arab refugees that were created out of this war. Historians to this day do not agree on what caused those refugees.
Well, I wonder what caused those refugees. Was it the massive fucking war and the theft of their land?
So Vox saying...
Yeah, like, she's like, historians disagree. Who disagrees? Israeli nationalist historians. That's who disagrees.
That implying that there's like somehow 100% fact implies that there's a historical consensus.
The Nakba was factually an ethnic cleansing of Palestinians from this blue land. It's very simple. But of course, she's essentially denying genocide here, because I think it's very reasonable to call forced removals genocide.
And I think that's a little dishonest. I mean, it's not a little dishonest, it's very dishonest. There is no historical consensus, and
There absolutely is.
I have my opinion, and my opinion actually agrees with Vox. I agree in terms of the research that I've done and the research that I've seen other, in terms of the amount of historical, scholarly work that's being done. I think it's much more likely, right, that I would say largely Palestinian refugees were kicked out by Israeli forces. However,
then what is the point of you trying to cast doubt here?
Is because it leads to legal issues associated with the concept of a refugee status, with the right of return. I don't think Palestinians can ever get the right of return because, as Vox mentioned, there's over 7 million. Those 700,000 have now become 7 million in terms of their descendants. I don't think there's no room. They can't come there, and Israel still remain a majority state. So the only solution.
Did she just straight up say that Palestinians cannot be allowed to return to their land that they had lived on for generations previously, that was stolen from them?
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, definitely. I see what your point is. Yeah, I'm not entirely clear on the terminology. And like I said before, there's some things that BadEmpanada said earlier that I'm not really sure about, right? And I don't know.
By Israel, because then Israel could no longer.
I'm not going to agree with stuff that I don't know that I don't know about. So yeah,
to be a majority Jewish ethno-state. She just said that she's against the right of return for Palestinian refugees, but she's for the.
There's no room. Yeah. Well, God. I mean, look. The other thing besides a historian that Eris is she's a storyteller, right? And storytelling's a complicated thing. Some parts of the story you don't actually write in a straightforward way. It's like the way that you frame things. So if you talk about a group that was 700,000 and now is 700 million, you haven't said it, but the implication is that they're reproducing at a. Do you see where this kind of leads? And it's only barely there, and who knows if she put it there or not. But I mean, the fact that she is a storyteller, and I am a storyteller, and I read the language that she writes in as a narrative constructor, as a storyteller. I'm a little bit already I'm feeling like I'm getting primed. I'm getting primed to look at the Palestinians in a certain way that's slightly dehumanized, right?
Right of return for random Jews who have nothing to do with Israel. Are you kidding me? This person is supposed to be some sort of smart, remotely leftist streamer
associated with the concept of a refugee status, with the right of return.
She's doing straight
smart, yes. Remotely leftist, no.
Straight up ethno-nationalism here. She firmly believes in Israel as an ethno-state.
Palestinians can never get the right of return because, as Vox mentioned, there's over 7 million. Those 700,000 have now become 7 million in terms of their descendants. I don't think there's no room. They can't come there, and Israel.
There's no room. There was room for there before the land was literally stolen from them.
Remain a majority state. So the only solution to me is, if you think that Israel's the cause of the refugee problem, are financial reparation. And Israel does not actually have as much money as a lot of people.
So essentially paying people for the land that you stole, I mean, that would certainly be better than nothing, but you can't just kick people out, pay them money, and be like, we have an ethno-state now. Honestly, that's kind of just coming out and saying the part that you're not supposed to be saying there, by saying that refugees should not be able to return to the place that they were kicked out of on ethnic grounds during a process of ethnic cleansing. That is so mask off that I honestly find it difficult to believe that she actually said it.
So I think that's the real financial reparations are the solution. But I think Israel would probably say, oh, well, what about all the Jews' financial reparations for all the regions that they were kicked out of in the last 100 years?
Well, there's kind of a bit of a difference there, because most of those Jews were settlers. Though I absolutely would agree that any who were not settlers would rightfully be entitled to some sort of reparations, at least if they haven't engaged in the oppression of Palestinians since, which, they almost certainly have.
And that's part of the problem. But anyways, so just wanted to mention that Vox didn't.
Population, whose descendants today number about 7 million. At the end of the war...
That's right, the issue of the treatment of Ethiopian Jews in Israel, yeah.
Israel controlled all of the territory except for Gaza, which Egypt controlled, and the West Bank, named because it's west of the Jordan River, which Jordan controlled. This was the beginning of the decades-long Arab...
If she was trying to sugarcoat it and sell it, she's not doing very good.
conflict. During this period, many Jews in Arab...
it changes nothing. It is essentially the same thing as Palestine, because that's where the Palestinians lived. Okay, I want to skip to some interesting parts that someone told me about on Twitter.
Settlements are, right? And you can't kick out settlements. You can, but
A little bird told him in chat.
that's really bad when that happens, right?
You can't kick out settlements. The Israelis, she's talking about present day settlements here, right? Just for the context.
And one of the reasons is because Israel's just constantly like there's a lot of reasons why Israel struggles economically compared to other Western nations. Now people see them as very strong because they are
Western
strong in
nation.
comparison with Palestinians and other Middle Eastern countries.
Make no mistake, Israel in no respect is a Western nation, and calling them a Western nation is incredibly weird. It portrays like a weird identification with the sort of imagined Western civilization, which doesn't exist, but which is very problematic and reactionary.
But I'm just comparing them to other Western right now. Okay, anyways.
Some settlements are
continuing.
cities with thousands of people, others are small communities deep into the West Bank.
If you've always felt a deep yearning for Jerusalem, now is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, not only to stand within its gates,
Yeah, Western a lot of times, can be a stand-in for that. Yeah.
but also to build the home of your dreams there.
Settlers are followed by soldiers to guard them, and the growing settlements force Palestinians off of their land and divide communities. Short term, they make the occupation much more painful for Palestinians.
The settlements are the biggest issue. Honestly, out of every single thing, the discrimination against Palestinians, the checkpoints, the water issues.
I mean, I think the settlements are a big issue, but the literal apartheid is also a huge issue.
It's like
Wait, okay, let's finish this part, and then I'll see if she talked about apartheid.
Honestly, even the military occupation, the worst thing are the settlements because of how permanent settlements are, right? And you can't kick out settlements. You can, but it's really bad when that happens, right? Because then you're basically ethnically cleansing a region, and that's what happened in Gaza.
What?
When Israel pulled out of Gaza. Lefties all loved Israel pulling out of Gaza, right? And I do think it was the right thing morally to do. But the consequence of
So, for one, apparently kicking settlers out of a region, even if they're there blatantly doing settler colonialism, as modern-day Israeli settlers unambiguously are, even if you support the existence of Israel, they are. It's obvious, right? You can't deny it. It's ethnic cleansing to kick them out. For one, that's not true. Israel is an occupying power under international law. Settlements are illegal under international law. Obviously, it's completely legal to kick out settlers. And when I say settlers, I'm talking about literal, not hereditary settlers, actual current recent settlers who were implanted by an occupying.
Yeah, there's 200K in Israel. Their treatment has been kind of a source of controversy. And somebody else said earlier there was something about their right of return. Can we get confirmation on whether that is the same as for any other Jewish person or?
Power, 100% unambiguously illegal. Not hereditary illegal, it's not collective punishment. They're engaging in a war crime. So kicking them out is obviously not ethnic cleansing as she said it was. But it's kind of weird how she calls it ethnic cleansing, yet the previous, unambiguous ethnic cleansing of actual Palestinians who had lived there for generations who were in no way settlers is apparently not ethnic cleansing. Now she talks about apartheid here.
that Israel's going.
And this is something that you're going to notice from the Twitch politics server people, is that they will claim victimhood as a means to negate someone else's victimhood who, right? This is kind of a common tactic, right? It's framing, right? Because once you frame somebody as the victim, and this is why we got to get a little bit better with our discourse, a little bit better with our analysis of rhetoric, right? It is that, little tricks like this can get you to just basically frame one group as the victim and the other group as problematic when it, could be largely the other way around, right? They were allowed to return, but they've walked back on that since then. Now there are many Ethiopian Jews living in Israel as undocumented, aka illegal.
To become an apartheid state. And all those lefties are going to turn out to be right when they criticize Israel, calling it apartheid. Because if they keep building the settlement and more settlements happen, it's going to be a more and larger of a human rights disaster to pull out and to get rid of the Jews from the region and give them back to the Palestinians. So it means that the only solution you're going to have is a one-state solution where everything becomes an Israeli state. The big problem with that is that for Israel to continue to exist as Israel and not just, become a non-Jewish state and...
Well, she's literally using the talking points of the far right in Israel who oppose settlement because they're worried that it will eventually end up with a one-state solution. This is exactly their talking point. They specifically oppose Israeli colonialism because further Israeli colonialism rather, because they think that it will dilute the Jewish character of the Israeli state. And she's literally talking.
That's
using
just a
that
typical
talking
Arab
point.
country in the Middle East with an Arab majority population. Israel, and to remain with Western values and all those things, Jews need to remain the majority of the population.
Oh my God! This is. Do I need to say anything? This is... I didn't even know she was this bad. I didn't know she was this bad. We need Israel to be a majority Jewish ethno-state with Western values. Western values. She's identifying with...
This is the kind of shocking moment for a lot of people, and a lot of people who I honestly feel like a lot of lefties, you didn't pay attention to what she was saying, right? You were just like, oh, cute anime girl, like knows history, right? You didn't pay attention to what she was saying. Like, this isn't that much of a departure from things that she said before. It's just like, this is the first time it's getting noticed.
With Israel in the way that like right-wing Christians do.
The Western value of ethnic cleansing, right?
You know? Let's listen to that again. I think it merits listening to it again.
It's disaster to pull out and to get rid of the Jews from the region and give them back to the Palestinians. So it means that the only solution you're going to have is a one-state solution.
Back then, I first heard her talking about this. She was solidly in favor of two-state. No, she is in favor of two-state, right? It's just that, like, the justification for that is what's, you know, kind of yikes, right? Based on preserving, you know, Western values or whatever the fuck that means, right? Like, I mean, that's kind of a dog whistle.
Where everything becomes an Israeli state. The big problem with that is that for Israel to continue to exist as Israel and not just, you know, become...
So for her, like, even ignoring the fact that obviously a one-state... Now, I am for a one-state solution.
I mean, she went, like, you know...
I think it's the best solution. Anyone who is not for a one-state solution is an idiot in my book, or misguided at the very least. But like, she's advocating against this extreme one-state solution where Jews basically settle all of the still remaining Palestinian territories and basically force the complete annexation of these territories and their population. And she's saying that that would be a bad thing, not because that's obviously incredibly fucked up, that obviously be essentially conquering those areas illegally in every single way, but because it would dilute the racial demographics of Israel and its Western culture. This is so mask off.
A non-Jewish state, and that's just a typical Arab country in the Middle East with an Arab majority population, Israel, and to remain with Western values and all those things, Jews need to remain the majority of the population. So if they're not the majority of the population anymore, right, because you're now including the entire region and Palestinians are coming back, what happens to all the citizens, all the people that are now in Israel, all the Palestinians that are now considered in legal Israel, because you probably don't trust them to give them normal rights and everything, because I mean, you're literally just at war with them. So what are you going to do?
Give them equal rights anyway.
You're going to make them second-class citizens.
This is the reason that she thinks there is an apartheid in Israel is obviously because she probably thinks that... let's just see if she talk about apartheid.
This is a really manipulative... Do you notice how manipulative this argument is, right? So, for the benefit of the Palestinians, of course, that's who we're looking out for here. Yeah, they're going to have a really bad time because, you know, they're going to get annexed, they're going to be one state, and then they're going to have to be, you know, treated as second-class citizens. So that we can preserve that and have a nice two-state solution, which I'm sure will be fair. I'm sure will be completely fair to the Palestinians. You know, like, we gotta, like, you know, right?
Points. I'm 100% sure that I know why she thinks it.
Whether or not Israel's an apartheid state. And I think, I don't think Israel's an apartheid state, because I don't include Palestinians as a part of that state. Right?
Okay, she doesn't include Palestinians as a part of that state. Now let's ask her, do you know that South Africa actually didn't...
Oh my god. No, this is all pretty yikes. Yeah.
Include a lot of...
This is the thing. Listen, Freya, you're not the only one who didn't recognize. There's a large percentage of left Twitch, like, just thought that she was a lefty anime girl, right?
Blacks as a part of South Africa. They were citizens of their Bantustan, which were basically special reservations created for them, which are directly analogous to Gaza and the West Bank. So even by the precedent of apartheid, she's wrong. But the real reason why Israel is an apartheid state is because functionally Israel and Palestine are one state. The ruling power, the overall real ruling power of Gaza and the West Bank that dictates everything about these places, everything that the people in there can and can't do, what can get in there.
Yeah, that's such a weird idea that, like, like, it's like, you know, Palestinians aren't part of the Israeli state, even though they're governed, their material conditions are very much affected to the negative by the Israeli government, but somehow they're not, like, we're gonna pretend that they're like over here and don't worry about them, okay? Don't worry about that. I don't know what this is. This argument feels very manipulative, right?
What can't? Who can get in there? Who can't? Is Israel. Israel is the governing power of all of Palestine. Functionally, we already have one state. It doesn't matter if you think that technically Palestinians aren't citizens of Israel. It doesn't fucking matter because Israel rules them. Israel is at the highest level of the monopoly of violence in the Palestinian territories. Israel enforces apartheid in those territories based on denying the people who live there legal status, which is what apartheid South Africa also did a lot of the time. Functionally, we have one state, and we have for a very long time. That is why Israel is an apartheid state. Not because it literally says in its law, Jews are number one, though it does have laws that do say similar things. Jews number one, Arab citizens number two, Palestinian non-citizens lower class. Because functionally it operates as one state that exercises a monopoly of violence over both what it calls Israel and what is called Palestine, and it's that simple. And it treats the people who live in the part called Palestine as if they are essentially like a third class of citizen, honestly. But I mean, we need to go back to that mask off moment, because I think this should absolutely be played at any time that this person tries to insert themselves into a left conversation, because it is fundamentally disqualifying. This person is a far-right reactionary Zionist settler colonist who believes that Israel should be an ethnostate that privileges Jews over other citizens and that excludes non-Jews as much as possible, because she doesn't want to dilute it with Arab.
I'm unsure about the definition of apartheid state. That could be applied to a lot of states in that case. Well, you can definitely see the injustice regardless of the terminology, right? Oh my god. Why is YouTube not loading? YouTube, why are you like this? Why are you like this? I just decided it doesn't want to load. Can we load?
Value. She straight up said it.
Apartheid, because if they keep building the settlement and more settlements happen, it's going to be more and larger of a human rights disaster.
Oh yeah, the U.S. Considering how disenfranchised Black people and natives are. Yeah, there's a degree of difference there, but yeah, you're not wrong.
To pull out and to get rid of the Jews from the region and give them back to the Palestinians. So it means that the only solution you're going to have is a one-state solution where everything becomes an Israeli state. The big problem with that is that for Israel to continue to exist as Israel and not just become a non-Jewish state.
Israel does not need to exist as Israel. You don't need to give a special state to the settler colonists just because they moved en masse to Palestine and then managed to conquer a part of it. The only just solution to the question of Israel-Palestine is one single state with equal rights for everyone within it, with no privileges for Jews, no privileges for Arabs, no privileges for Christians, no privileges for Muslims, no privileges for any group. Very simple. She wants the opposite of that. She wants a straight up Jewish ethnostate, and she's blatant about it. And she's somehow trying to frame this as woke. She's
yeah,
just coming out and
biggest
saying
thing.
This. I cannot emphasize how disgusting this is. How saying this about any other people, any other ethnicity anywhere would rightfully get you skewered as a reactionary, as a fascist.
That's just a typical Arab country in the Middle East with an Arab majority population. Israel, and to remain with Western values and all those things, Jews need to remain the majority of the population. So if they're not the majority of the population anymore, right, because you're now including the entire region and Palestinians are coming back, what happens to all the citizens, all the people that are now in Israel, all the Palestinians that are now considered in legal Israel, because you probably don't trust them to give them normal rights and everything, because I mean you're...
This has got echoes of Bosch versus Professor Flowers, doesn't it? You don't trust them to have equal status because they might want revenge for what you did to them. That's what she's saying.
Literally just at war with them. So what are you going to do?
Because you were literally just at war with them, she says. Like, you literally just conquered all of their territory, and she frames it as being at war. What happens in Israel is not a conflict anymore, okay? It is a settler colonial power that keeps the vast majority of the indigenous population in what is essentially reservations. That is apartheid. That is Bantustans. Simple.
You're going to make them second-class citizens. And voila, you start having an apartheid state. So I think it's very likely to become that. And that really
They're already third-class citizens, not even second-class.
I mean, I think every single time there's another settlement, it's more and more likely.
Like, her reason for opposing settlements is just unhinged. Like, not on a moral level, but because she thinks it will be inconvenient for Israel's status as an ethno-state in the future, as like a Western bastion. Absolutely disgusting. Look, I think I'm gonna stop there. I can't really stand this so much.
Yeah, I mean exactly, Freya. The Professor Flowers thing for me was a breaking point with Vosh. Like, I'd always said that, criticize like people like Vosh for what they say wrong, but like I'd always kind of guarded against just like going full hog Sorry, chat. It's a callback to an earlier video. I've always guarded against going like, kind of like all out against Vosh, because I've seen a lot of creators just like kind of, I don't know, that's all they do, right? And that's all they talk about. And I think it's, I don't know, I don't think it works, right? I don't think it necessarily helps. But with that debate, it broke my fucking heart to see somebody earnest and genuine, jacketed with being pro-genocide when she's not. When that's not what she's saying. She backed her into a corner, tried to get her to disavow people she's never met, hypothetical people whose situation could be like anything, and say in all cases this is wrong. And it's like she was like, no, I'm not going with you on your logic tree, right? And that's what happens. That's what they do. This is the problem with Twitch politics. This is the problem with the debate bros, right? They can't just have a disagreement. They have to turn you into a genocide wanter. They have to turn you into some kind of a beyond the pale, creature that cannot be, interacted with, because they lose their fucking arguments and they cope. And that's how they cope. That's how they cope. You can't believe in Professor Flowers, because if you believe in you can't be on Professor Flowers' side, because that means you're supporting genocide, right? And it's a way of bullying people, and it's disingenuous. And that is why, chat, I announced this, I think, I don't remember where, on Twitch yesterday maybe. I am not interacting with the Twitch politics people anymore. Anybody who's involved in that, you don't exist to me, okay? I'm not dealing with you. I'm not, engaging with you. I am not gonna go, video for video with you. I'm not gonna get involved in these like discourses with you, because I think you're fundamentally unserious, disingenuous, and harmful to the platform. And I don't want to feed you any more clicks. I don't want to feed you any more drama. So you're not going to get it from me. As far as I'm concerned, you don't exist anymore, right? I don't want to be a part of that. That shit is gross. That is what has ruined Twitch. And I just want these people to leave me alone, right?
Much longer. Though I guess let's go conclusion and Eris's thoughts. Let's see, what's her conclusion? It
was heartfelt and infuriating to see, as well as the fallout of the Fallout PF had to deal. Oh my god. Yeah, I've been talking to Lua, and yeah, no, like, she's gone through a lot, right? It's been hard for her. It's on so many different levels. I don't want to get into conversations that we've had or anything, but just trust me that she's been through a lot in this, right?
I'm glad that they mentioned that. Thank you, Vox.
Yeah, they just do it for clout. They just do, well, and for revenge, really. With me, it's about revenge, right? It's about revenge. I'm the one that got away, okay? So they tried to cancel me back during the Dylan thing, right? And they thought they had me. Like, if you look at my numbers over summer, they went way down. My numbers were really low over summer. I was also moving all around and like didn't have a good place or time to do content, right? But they thought they had me, and then they started to see my numbers climb back, and wouldn't you know it? That's when another cancellation comes in, right? Vosh has been like that for years. For me, dishonesty and chauvinism when debating African nationalists for more than a year. Hey, listen, I should have noticed it earlier. You're right. There were signs, right? And I had been like, and the reason that I go hard on Vosh now, okay, is because I carried water for the dude for so long. I thought that the way to deal with people like Dylan, the way to deal with people like Sanderhall, the way to deal with people like Vosh was to say, okay, you're pretty good on these issues. And they are. There's some issues that they get, like they're I'm not going to tell you that Vosh is Sargon. I'm not going to tell you that Sanderhall is Chris Raygun. I'm not going to tell you that you know what I mean? But that maybe if they had creators around them that were like, yeah, this is really good, but that you could kind of like reform them a little bit and be like, here's how you could be even better. Have you ever thought of this, right? It doesn't fucking work. It doesn't fucking work. Either you are so slight that they don't even notice, that they don't even pay attention, or you get their attention and it results in a cancellation. It results in a silencing, chat, because they cannot have their communities know that they are particularly bad on certain issues. They cannot have that. And rather than dealing with it, rather than thinking, could I be wrong? Is there something I haven't thought about? They would rather just kill the messenger. And that's what they tried to do with me. And that's what they're trying to do right now. And that's what all the shit that you see is about, all coordinated from Twitch politics. And that is why I refuse to deal with this toxic part of the discourse ever again. As far as I'm concerned, like, it's lost. And listen, I mean, if you've been involved with it, I don't hate you, right? But as long as you are involved in it, I can't be involved with you. That's my deal, right? I'm not playing their game anymore, right? They want to farm drama, they want to farm content, they want to make up all kinds of bullshit, right? They've got fucking conspiracy theories of me, chat, right now that have me, let's see, what all am I doing? Okay. So I'm doing all the content. You've seen, you know, everybody can admit, like, you know, there's a decent amount of content being made, right? I'm doing all of that. At the same time, I am keeping tabs on everyone on Twitch. Okay. Keeping tabs like a East German Stasi, you know, okay, that's a lot. That's already a lot, right? But in addition to that, no, that's not it either, chat. I'm also, like, behind every troll account that ever attacked me is actually me. It was just me. It was just me attacking myself for fucking drama. So I'm doing all these things at once. Listen, Twitch Politics, if you want one of your lies to be believed about me, if you want people to believe one of your lies, try sticking to just one lie, right? Because that might be believable. If you said I did one of those things, then people might be like, huh. And if they hate my guts, then, you know, with no proof, with no fucking anything, without connecting the dots, they'll say, sure, yeah, she's bad. So yeah, you know, she went against Dylan, and that's my boy. So, you know, fuck NCC, right? But if you try to do three at once, you are straining credibility. And once that shit starts to break, once people realize how tight they are required to attach their tinfoil hat to take Twitch Politics' you know, shit about me seriously, they're gonna start to press X for doubt. And that's gonna be really bad for you. Because it's a whole pack, it's a whole, like, you know, it's like the cards. What is it called where you stack the cards? It's a house of cards. I'm like, what is the name for this very simple expression? Yeah. Vosh made a really good argument for why black people need to be able to build their own spaces, not just join white socialists. Simply by the way he treated PF. Yeah, no kidding. NCC bad. Oh my god, we have some NCC bads. Yeah.
I'm actually somewhat
and you can get one too for only the cheap cost of only $2.99. It's cheaper than Twitch, huh?
impressed by this. There's still something.
You too can become a weird champ. I don't know why do we have a Twitch name for our, like, you know, entry level role. I don't know.
That they've left out.
I like weird champs.
But there aren't really any
I
outright
appreciate weird
mistruths,
champs.
and they're largely being somewhat fair. Like, there's some things they've left out that I think are a little shitty, but they were probably trying to make a shorter video, and I think that's, so I'm being kind of impressed.
Time it wound down a few years later, about 1,000 Israelis and 3,200 Palestinians had died.
As a half-black guy myself, we do need our own space. We can't just constantly join white socialists. Yeah, we need self-determination. I totally understand that. Like, I can relate to that, right? Like, it's like, I think anybody that's marginalized needs their own space to have their own discourse, right? And, you know, are you still going to engage with the rest of, you know, other socialists? Yeah, some people are. But some people might not want to. Some people might have been burned by that, right? And you can understand, you know, with treatment like what Professor Flowers received from Vosh, why a lot of black socialists wouldn't want to fuck with that, right?
The Second Intifada really changes the conflict. Israelis become much more skeptical that Palestinians will ever accept peace or that it's even worth trying.
Keep in mind, Israelis went into the year 2000.
Yeah, mutual aid and yeah.
Very, very ready to make peace. Very
solidarity.
Okay,
when we talk, I strongly believe in that. I strongly agree with you.
Talk about Israeli, you know, making peace. You know, Israelis wanting to make peace, Arabs not wanting to make peace. What they mean here is peace on Israeli terms. What they mean here is peace with what Israel is willing to give up in exchange for that peace, being generally very small amounts of Palestinian land. You know, no right of return for Palestinian refugees, what is essentially a fundamentally unjust situation that does nothing to solve what is the original problem, which is the fact that two states were created against the will of the vast majority of people who live there. So what Israelis and Zionists do is they try to frame Arabs as unreasonable for not wanting to accept Israeli.
It's very disingenuous to say self-determination means segregation. I'm pretty sure most black people don't want that. They can't trust white people to have their best. They just can't trust white people to have their best interests in mind. Yeah, no marginalized group should trust, you know, those who hold privilege, the corresponding privilege to do that, right? It's actually kind of a rarity that that somebody from that group would have your best interest in mind. It takes a lot of work to even know what the best interest of you know what you have to do, and this is gonna be wild. Any debate bros watching, okay, this I'm about to blow your mind. You have to listen to marginalized people. Yeah, it's wild. It's wild. So yeah, there's not a lot of that going on, right? And henceforth, you know, it's you know, it's pretty obvious what the need for these spaces is.
Peace terms. And I'm sure that's what she's doing here. You know, it would be like saying, oh, fucking, goddamn fucking Poles not accepting the Nazis' terms for peace or whatever, the complete capitulation, blah, blah, blah. Yes, they don't accept peace. That essentially means that they give up any claim to what was stolen from them. That does absolutely nothing to right the fundamental wrongs.
I think that self-determination going forward in the 21st, wait, this is the 21st century. Yes, the 21st century. I know centuries. I think that like self-determination needs to be become kind of a buzzword. Autonomy, you know, these kind of senses of you know, these things that we're lacking, that almost all of us are lacking, right? And that the more intersections of marginalization you find yourself at, the more you tend to lack that self-determination, right? I guess the important part is to not only listen to marginalized people who tell you, them, yeah, not, oh my God, yeah, that's true. That's a good point, Joni. I didn't even think of that. Yes, that you are exactly right on that. Listening doesn't feel like winning for debate bros. Yeah, that's one of their tactics. That's one of their tactics. Don't listen to your opponent and just go on with your fucking gish gallop, right?
Only acceptable peace in this situation is a one-state solution where human rights abuses are held to account with the right of return for refugees. On both sides, though obviously this disadvantages the Israeli side because, you know, they commit a whole lot more human rights abuses and stole a whole lot more land.
Leftists. And they come out of the Second Intifada in 2003, a few years later. I think it's 2000 years or 2005. Sorry, my mind's like, they come out of it hardened, angry. Almost every single person that I know, almost every single Israeli I know has...
Like, she's trying to frame this as like a righteous anger. It's not. We have one group fighting for liberation against your bullshit terms that give you the exclusive ethnically based right to land that you originally stole. You don't have any righteous cause there. I don't give a shit about your indignation. I don't care about how pissed you are that the people who you oppressed fought back with violence.
It doesn't hold the objects of winning, even though the learning experience and better understanding could be a win. That's what I always say. Hey, what's up, Snuggle Nuts? That's what I always say, that the real winning comes not necessarily from debate, but from that back and forth, the discourse, right? Discourse doesn't have to be debate. And very often you can learn something if you listen, if you're open, and if you reconsider things. If you're lost. Entire beef with with Twitch streamers and debate bros. Well, God, that's a huge like can of I'm like thinking nuts for some reason, but it's like can of worms. I don't know. Yeah, can of worms. That's the phrase. I don't know. I would rather have a can of nuts, honestly. Like yeah.
Violence. They have every right to fight back with violence against you.
Lost someone in the Second Intifada. So just imagine what that does to your mindset, because human beings are emotional. People
I don't
stop
care
having
about your
suffering.
mindset.
I talked about this with Anna. Suffering makes you selfish. So Israelis suffered during the Second Intifada.
Okay.
With that suffering, they become less empathetic to the Palestinian plight. They start saying, well, you're just trying to kill us and our children. Why do we give a shit about you anymore? We won. You're just...
Okay, so in general, like, you know, debate bros, Twitch politics, these things represent consolidations of power. How is power consolidated? Well, I'll tell you, okay? You got a lot of bigger creators. No, you don't. You don't got a lot of bigger creators. You got a few bigger creators, right? And then you got smaller creators, right? And how do the smaller creators get bigger? Well, the most, you know, tried and tested way is by making yourself useful for one of the larger creators. Now, if you find a larger creator that's just great and you agree with everything that they say, you know, then I guess that works out pretty well. But most of us don't. Most of us, you know, like most of the creators out there, you're gonna have a few issues with, and you're just gonna have to kind of bite your tongue on those issues, right? And you're also going to have to make yourself useful. If anybody comes and attacks them, then you're supposed to go and do the dirty work for them so that they don't have to get their hands dirty. So it's that kind of system of, you know, transactional social aggregation, right, that is responsible for the unjust hierarchy that we see before us. Now, with the debate bros in particular, it's a style of content creation. Let's just pare it down, okay? And I don't have necessarily a problem with it. I was a debate bro. I will cop to that. I was 100% a debate bro. I was content brained, all that shit. I was a debate bro, for real. I carried water for Vosh. I carried water for Xander Hall. I made myself useful, even to like people like Destiny at times. I mean, I pushed back on Destiny when Destiny said ridiculous stuff like calling Demon Mama subhuman. But, for the most part, I was way too nice to these people, right? And I got rewarded. You can see some of my biggest videos come from, working with those creators, right? Or covering those creators and in a favorable light. And so I'm not coming at this from like a big high horse or anything saying I'm perfect. I'm not. I played the same game, but I saw the result of that game. What I thought I could do was get on the inside and reform it just a little bit. Just push them just a little bit. And what happens when you push them just a little bit? Their fragile egos shatter. Okay, over just a little tiny bit of criticism. They just can't fucking take, right? And so then you're left with the question, am I gonna just eat this L, or am I gonna stand up for marginalized people? And I chose standing up for marginalized people. And chat, this is what happens. Massive, systemic, the person whose ego is offended, all their friends are going to come after you. All these people, and they're going to frame the narrative in a really weird way where it's like, you're burning the bridges. Oh, you burned the bridge with this person. Everybody that betrays you, supposedly you burned a bridge with them, even if you never had a bridge with them to begin with. Even if you never really, had much of a relationship, you were just like on a stream with them once, you were on a debate panel with them once, they'll be like, oh yeah, you burned the bridge. And it's like, I didn't burn shit, right? I didn't burn shit. I got silenced for a summer, chat, and I found my voice again, and I claimed that truth within myself. And there's nothing they can do about that. That is one thing, chat, that these debate bros cannot take away from me. I found my voice. I found who I am. And now they can't silence me. Chat, they've been going at it. What, for 3 weeks? Has it been 3 weeks that they've been trying to cancel me? They've been trying to cancel me for 3 weeks. Now, chat, 3 weeks into Dylan trying to cancel me, I was down 200 subs on YouTube, right? What am I now? Oh, I'm over 1,000. Yeah, that's the result. That's the result of your attacks on me. Because guess what? I don't rely on debate bro audiences anymore, right? I have a different audience. Some of them came from that, but a lot of them, their stomachs got turned by that. A lot of them don't want any part of it, just like me, right? And so when you blow the horns of cancellation, say NCC bad, they look at you and they say, sus. And you are fucking sus. You are fucking sus. And people are tired of your bullshit, right? And people know who you are. And they know why you're doing this. They know where this comes from. Every time that NCC gets around 1,000 subs, we gotta fucking cancel her. We gotta prevent that. This time, it didn't happen, chat. Because this time, I know how to play their game better than they do. And I ain't giving them shit. I ain't giving them shit to work with, right? So that's my deal with the debate bros, okay?
And you're still just trying to kill it. And that starts becoming...
You found me due to Dylan trying to cancel me. Whoa.
An attitude of like, we try to make peace, you rejected our peace deal, and then you...
There are huge divides between bigger streamers? Less than you'd think, right? Look at how the Prime Kai situation worked out, right? That was brutal. That was rough. It looked like Dylan was trying to just completely get rid of Prime, and to the Prime people, that's like he's getting rid of his competition, right? And the result of it was not really that much fallout, right? Like Dylan didn't really, suffer for that. He did what he was required to do by the Clout Network to save face, and they had his back. So yeah, sometimes less than you think, right? It's all transactional. These people are, I'll give them one thing, they're pretty fucking practical, right? And even if they, sometimes they'll go for an interpersonal beef, like they'll go for some revenge, right? But a lot of times they just look at the clicks and they look at the clout and they make the calculation according to that. And, it just wasn't worth it for Doobie and the rest of them to just like completely go to war with Dylan. It made more sense for them to find an agreement, and they did.
killer, and then
Oh yeah, we tried to make peace
All of them hate Haas.
on terms that advantage us, that do absolutely nothing to solve the fact that we stole this fucking land from you. We ethnically cleansed it of most of you. Unbelievable. You know, and we're
Oh yeah, Destiny hates
still
Hassan.
settling your land, but you know,
And I mean, some of this stuff is jealousy, right? Some of this stuff, and believe it or not, that shit even happens on my level, right? A lot of the shit coming at me stems from jealousy, but yeah, it's not gonna lie, Haas is kind of unhinged. You know, there's people speculating that Haas did the whole two holes thing to just get his name out there. I guess we'll see how this ends. Is Haas stuck in a permanent clown role where he doesn't get taken seriously anymore, or is he actually gonna I feel like a lot more people know who he is now than did before, so we'll see. Haas might have played that one smart, who knows.
you don't accept our peace terms.
But yeah, he does look pretty ridiculous. I know what you mean.
Noam Chomsky said once that everyone wants peace, even Hitler wanted peace. The question is, on whose terms are we talking about? Peace in Israel-Palestine is always framed as peace on Israeli terms. When Arabs, who are an oppressed group in this situation, who are in the right in every single way, rightfully say no, they're framed as like some sort of like incredible,
I didn't see that debate, Snugglenuts.
incredibly unreasonable, like basically savages who just love war. Us Israelis believe that we suffered at the hands of these unreasonable, warlike Palestinians. That you feel like they've wronged you in some way doesn't mean that you're actually wronged. Examine the situation. The people who are wronged here are not the Israelis.
try to wipe us out,
The people who are in the right are the Palestinians. It's very simple.
like, and kill our civilians. And now you're making
Wait, when did he say he's not a foreign policy expert? I thought that was literally his job for the... Wait, when did he say he's not a foreign policy expert? It was on accident, but Haas is milking it for clicks. Yeah. That's what I thought, maybe. Yeah.
us live in fear.
I could see that.
Kill our civilians, man. You kill like 100 civilians for every one they kill. And you always have. Give me a fucking break.
No, it's war now. It's war. And that starts becoming
It was already a very prevalent attitude. Israel has always been a Starship Troopers state, based on war. She says Israelis start becoming
so
more
Israelis
right-wing
start becoming much more right wing as a consequence.
as a consequence. Dude, you're already incredibly right-wing. You're a fascist ethnostatist who believes that Israel must be upheld as a
Haas's Taiwan video?
Jewish ethnostate for the sake of Western values. Get out of here. Anyway, look, I can't stand this anymore. Zionists will just say the quiet part out loud, and they somehow won't even realize that they're doing it. And this is someone who claims to be like a leftist or at least a progressive liberal.
Oh.
Straight up saying it out loud. I can't stand it. It's honestly ridiculous.
Oh, okay, for making a distinction between foreign policy advisor and an expert on what? Foreign policy expert.
That this person is accepted in like supposedly...
I mean, I guess I would assume that somebody that's a foreign policy advisor would be an expert. I would assume that nobody would be chosen for that unless they were, but maybe I don't know that much about foreign policy. I don't know. Dylan has a video on Taiwan. Oh yes. Yeah, I think I remember that.
Left-leaning circles on...
We'll have to watch that sometime on Twitch, chat. I'm going to be streaming on Twitch tonight, all right? I guess I'm going back to streaming in the evening, like, right? So I don't know, like, I gotta find my groove, chat. I did mornings for a while over on Twitch. I just can't find a good time to do streaming, right? Because I want to be available for panel shows and stuff at night, but evening is good. Yeah. I was even thinking about starting like right after this, right? Because this is kind of a short stream.
Twitch as some sort of fellow traveler makes me...
When he says fellow traveler, I think of my friend fellow. Does chat know about fellow traveler?
Is a
There's
ethno-nationalist.
a YouTuber named
straight up. An open ethno-nationalist who straight up says that they're an ethno-nationalist and who straight up talks about defending Western values, like as a point for her ethno-nationalism. It's terrible. It's absurd. This says so much about Twitch politics. Makes me want to throw up.
Yes, Twitch. That's definitely. Oh no. We gotta watch this. Okay, chat. I told you I was just gonna cover this, but check this out. This is kind of amazing. Okay, so chat. You know Peter Coffin, right?
Internet fight.
Look, you're getting. This is your bonus content. All right, you didn't even have to pay me for this bonus content. I'm doing bonus content just because I like to do it, and because I like you. So here, yeah, you're getting a little extra today. The bonus content that we have is one. Peter Coffin, what, like in 2000, it was in the 2010s, right? And you're to see that Peter Coffin looked massively different back in the 2010s than they do now. Peter Coffin has always done like silly stuff on the internet, right? For comedy, and this is some really silly stuff, right? So get ready for this. This is not quite kicking yourself in the crotch silly, but yeah, it's still pretty silly. Cover the debate between Haas and the Nazi. I don't usually do cover like, you know, debates with Nazis in them, right?
Lady Gaga.
Who is Peter Coffin? Exactly, no. Peter Coffin is an old school, you know, leftist YouTube creator who has a long and checkered history that I don't want to get into right now. There's lots of controversies. They were first famous for going on the America's Got Talent show, kicking themselves in the crotch. Yeah, how does somebody kick themselves in the crotch? Well, Peter Coffin will show you if you want to watch that clip, right? And they got well known for that, and then they started doing politics, and they're you know, a communist. They were one of the first, you know, kind of communist channels to make it big on YouTube, and they have since then gone sort of to the reactionary side of communism, right? They've embraced a lot of the reactionary side of communism, and for that reason, a lot of people don't like them. A lot of people make fun of them. A lot of people attack them, and it you know, when you read their Twitter account, you kind of see why, right?
Guys of the Night parody. Okay, let's cursed video.
The SJW to Tanky to Nazbol pipeline is
Surprised.
real.
Did they actually
It's
archive
real.
old YouTube videos? That's weird. I didn't expect that. Oh god, that's so loud.
I'm in an internet
Oh, opposes land back also.
fight.
So wait, what did you see? Did anybody see what when this happened? Like what? I think it's like 2014 or something, right? And that's Peter Coffin in 2014, believe it or not. The Discord link is expired. Oh my god.
I won't
We gotta
fix
fix that.
errors I type. I'm at war with the nuns. Got my cats
Praise
like
be to
I'm
Allah.
tonight.
This is like a big thing. People did that. There was a lot of big videos that were like this kind of auto-tuned.
How did Peter Coffin go from this to being a guy who dresses up in an American flag onesie and talks about how great American nationalism is? What happened here? Don't praise Allah, Mad Jack Churchill.
Is it 2014? I think it's some 2010s. I think
I condemn Allah
it feels a little bit older than that, though, doesn't it?
for the existence of this video.
I'm gonna argue
Communism
my
is based.
case.
Communism is
Wipe that
based.
smile off your face.
This is so bad. I hate him. I hate it. Man, he's aged
Them.
like 40 years in the last 10 years. He looks like a teen.
Wait. Maybe I'm wrong. Wait. Am I wrong? Okay, chat. I remember something. I remember hearing something. Haas got Peter to take pronouns out of bio. Is that what happened? Does anybody know what pronouns Peter Coffin wants to be called now? What is the up to date? Looks like a Nickelodeon character. Oh yeah, it's right above you, cheek clapping.
Teenager. I mean, I guess proletarian patriotism fucking ages you quickly. He becomes a drone strike in this vid? Hold on, let's find out.
A soldier in chrome, fight you from my home. I'm a winner. I'm in an internet fight. I will not be polite.
Man, humor 10 years ago fucking sucked.
10 years
Absolutely
ago,
awful.
so what, 2011?
My uplink's 3 megabytes. I'm in an internet fight. Leaving my
Herp derp. I hate the internet.
logic at the door. I'm in an internet fight. Got Wikipedia to explore.
Peter Coffin uses they them pronouns, but I am fine with passive use of he him by people I know. Okay.
Not gonna spell check my posts. Got all my other tabs closed. I am focusing here. Call this guy.
This is
a queer,
amazing.
I'm the winner.
This is true music. I hope you guys
Do you see how much they're trying to be Smosh? Do you know what I'm talking about? If you've ever watched like a Smosh music video, like the kind of like weird overacting shit. It's not just because, you know, it's not just Peter Coffin being amateur as fuck. It was a style back then. I remember this shit, right? Smosh would do this stuff on purpose.
Appreciate how
This sucks. That's why we're watching. You got it, Snuggle Nuts. That's why we're watching this, because this sucks. Oh no. Oh no.
I'll leave emotional scars.
Oh no. What is this? Jesus
Make
Christ.
someone cry. Use
Smosh
the
energy.
N-word twice through computer.
Hell yeah. Peter Coffin is a tactical N-word upholder. You know, I salute you, man. I truly salute you. Great job. You know, invocate the N-word's power for good.
I'm in an internet fight. I will not sit up.
This guy, like, this guy is the next, like, dictator of the United. I think it's between Coffin and Maupin on who becomes the next dictator of the US. Though maybe Coffin will be the vice president. After the revolution, I think it's going to be Coffin as the general secretary, and Caleb as like at least the man behind the scenes, or maybe, I don't know, maybe Peter.
But whoever said this sucks, you're right. This does suck.
Will be able to take control.
This
Who
really
knows?
sucks. Like,
but this,
right.
they're
I
gonna
don't
like
think they're
ban
doing
this video. It's gonna be
auto-tuning right.
suppressed so that no one can attack the great leader Peter Coffin.
It was 2015.
Woman on internet.
This seems like it would have been.
He just did a drone strike. Hold on.
He became a
My
drone
thing's
strike,
in error.
yeah.
He did a drone strike.
Coffin will be
A
Scaramucci.
soldier.
I can't skip ahead. Skipping ahead doesn't
My
work.
uplings 3.
He became a drone strike. Peter Coffin drone strike? Based. Republicans, Democrats, proletarian patriots have dropped fucking Peter Coffin bombs. Man, that's honestly, that's more terrifying than a cluster bomb. I wouldn't want to be in the middle of one of those. That was fantastic. I love Peter Coffin. He's the greatest guy I've ever seen. 10 out of 10. I'm now a proletarian patriot. I'm in an internet fight. 2011 internet culture.
All right,
was truly incredible. 10 out of 10. I approve.
10 out of 10. Would internet fight again. Hey everybody, how are we doing? How are we doing? Okay, so here's what I'm thinking now, okay? Here's my idea. I think... Oh my god, we gotta watch this too. We gotta watch this too, don't we? Fuck. I'm not even... No. Alright, we apparently gotta watch this.
Why don't we talk about the epic habits of the ultra-rich? Jack Dorsey wakes up and drinks salt juice, water, Himalayan salt, and lemon. He takes like a bunch of supplements, including doubtlessly the blood
Stay
of
on
young
YouTube.
blood boys. Mark Zuckerberg's diet of cold goat meat.
It's kind of weird though. Like I try to make videos, you know what I'm saying? Feeling meow, yeah. I try to make videos on you know, a single topic on YouTube, but
Does anyone here smoke meats?
starting
Well,
to
you might not
spread a
smoke
little
meats,
bit.
but you have blood boys. Like most plot points on
so that it can become a video after I'm done with it, right? That's the idea.
HBO's Silicon Valley, a recent episode in which tech oligarch blah 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 receives blood transfusions from a blood boy to help keep him young is actually rooted in reality. Just ask Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel, one of the most nefarious billionaires in the entire world.
Oh,
He says he's looking into where they put young blood into old
No, chat, I completely misheard that. Peter Thiel, that's...
the mice and find that it has a massive
Wow.
rejuvenating effect. Another guy who runs a startup called Ambrosia is charging $8,000 a pop for blood transfusions from people under 25. And he already has 100 paying customers. Blood boys. Does anyone here want to be a blood boy? The Blood Boy Clinic is coming to New York City so rich people can live forever. This is the same guy, Karmazin. So we've got that. That's one of the great habits of the ultra-rich. There's also, you know, flying to Epstein's Island and doing pretty nefarious things with children. As the Spanish translation of Squid Game would say, doing the unthinkable with children. Because for some reason they translated the word rape as do the unthinkable. That's a nice tidbit for you. We can also, you know, we have the Zuckerberg doing a completely normal, everyday sunscreen. You know, just looking like a fucking alien because he just absolutely slathered his entire face in sunscreen to go surfboarding or whatever.
did. You
in
heard
between his
Peter
blood
Thiel,
boy
yeah.
session. You know, we got Zuckerberg smoking some meats.
Hey everyone, We are live from my backyard.
Oh, I forgot
where
about this.
I am
I forgot about the
smoking
smoked
a
meats.
brisket and some ribs. I am.
This is called blood doping. Athletes do it to a lot to increase their performance. Wait, does it actually like de-age them or something? Does it actually like because that's I think what they do it for, right? Is that like it's supposed to like. Does it make them feel young? Does it make them look young? Something like that? I don't know.
I'm making meats now. Smoking these meats here.
It doesn't seem like...
Our little meat smoking. It's smoking. So, I'm the meat chef. Yeah, someone asked...
Is he real? He's not real. He's a real
He's a deep fake. He's a real deep fake. That's what he has.
terrifying cryptid.
me, do I smoke meat?
It allows more oxygen to flow in your blood due to increased red blood cells.
Smoking meat. Smoking these meats. Smoking meats earlier in the
Oh,
day.
okay, so it
smoking
just-
these meats.
they
Just
could
set the charcoal up and you set
Theoretically,
the...
It's really important-
They could theoretically do what, more distance in a run or something?
To
Or a
smoke your
bike
meats,
ride?
right? You got to smoke your meat so you can revitalize the blood that you got injected into your veins from your local blood boy. Okay, in between your surfing trip where you slaver your face in sunscreen, and in between your bi-weekly flights to Epstein's private island to reinvigorate yourself through doing other very questionable things with young people. And don't forget to drink your fucking Himalayan salt juice, okay?
Sitting in our backyard.
Am I a fan of
Finishing off
BadEmpanada? Actually, I don't know that much about BadEmpanada. I've been coming across his content a lot lately. Like, it seems like his BadEmpanada 2 channel's been getting recommended to me. So, and I haven't found anything, like, you know, objectionable. I know people, like, I've heard people say that there's some weird shit about BadEmpanada, but I haven't run into it yet.
This brisket and these ribs. Take it from there. She's waiting for her ribs. I mean, she knows what's coming, and sweet baby Rays.
Smoking meats.
So that's
Wait, shouldn't you not be in a place where... Wait, did the smoke goes out? Okay, the smoke goes out of the... Okay, so he's not breathing the meat smoke, right? That can't be good for you. It's 100% just a rich, bougie nonsense. An utter waste of money. Yeah, that's the thing is, a lot of people will pay for some shit that's kind of... The research isn't really there. Unless you are an athlete... Yeah, I see what you're saying. Unless you're actually trying to do blood doping. BE could be described as an antisocial socialist, huh?
that's pretty good.
So, oh yeah, that's right. People say that BE's Twitter is like what? Like a lot of fighting? I don't know.
Who doesn't like ribs? Everyone likes ribs. Everyone likes ribs.
Excuse me, B.
Yeah, no, this is what Facebook Live is for. Just hanging out while you're sitting in your backyard, waiting for your brisket and your ribs to finish smoking.
I love smoking meats. Imagine being a billionaire and
Always drinking salt water is normal?
you're fucking Mark Zuckerberg, man.
What does the
That's
salt water do?
dire. He's a real human. I sometimes like to invite my blood boy to the cookout to make sure that he's keeping himself vitalized.
BE makes great vids, but he is so unhinged on Twitter. He goes, yeah. Yeah, I haven't really, I guess I'm following BE on Twitter. I guess with the aristocracy thing, like, you know, I guess you could say there was like a, that like some of the way that he worded stuff was kind of like pushing, was maybe pushing. Oh, hey, if you haven't checked this channel out, right, let's just take a second here.
Our generation
This is something
marked by collapse.
I've been getting into this channel, Saint Andrewism. This is a really good channel. This is a video called Solarpunk is Not Enough. I'm gonna try to watch more Saint Andrewism on Twitch, maybe even later today. So anyway, chat, that's gonna be it for my YouTube stream, but make sure to come over and join me on Twitch. I'll probably go ahead and start the music, so if you want to go over there and hang out and listen to some tunes while I get some kind of food or something. I should probably eat food. Food is good. And then we'll be going on Twitch, and like just to let you know what's the difference between my YouTube streams and my Twitch streams. Usually my YouTube streams are about one subject, right? They're, you know, I'll kind of stick to one subject so that way the thumbnail makes sense, the title makes sense. You know, otherwise it's just kind of like, you know, VOD for, 11, 10, 21, right? It doesn't make a lot of sense, right? But like if I title it by the subject, then it makes sense. So that's what I try to do on YouTube. On Twitch, I do streams that are more streams. Like if you're used to streams like hanging out and shit like that and doing multiple things and going into like, talking to the chat more, that kind of thing, that goes on over at Twitch. So yeah. Oh, my Twitch. So it's actually, oh my God, that's a great question. Thank you so much, Freya. You saved my butt there. My Twitch is that, you'd think it would be no comment check on Twitch, right? But it's not. It's actually not. Yeah? What the fuck? What the fuck? Seriously though, it's on, let me, open a new window here. And okay, I'm gonna put this in the chat here. I am a YouTube girl. That's where I came from, chat. The comment sections of YouTube. That is why I'm undefeatable and undunkable and uncancelable to boot, right? I'm just really strong. I got strong in those YouTube comment sections. They were really nasty places. Anyway, that's the intro over on Twitch. Here, let me give this. Oh wait, no. Here's what I was looking for. I wanted to put it in chat. Oh yeah, we also do the gameplay over on Twitch. So yeah, I'm playing through Persona 2 right now. It's like it's an old school JRPG that had an update on the PSP, so that's the version that I'm playing. It's actually pretty cool. If you haven't played anything that's not, there we go. I finally got to the chat. It took me way too long. There we go. Yeah, that is my Twitch right there. That is my Twitch. So everybody make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and if you want to get the cool emotes, you can get them for $2.99. That's the basic bitch weird champ level. There's other levels available for support. There's a ton of ways that you can support me. Just click on the description and you'll find one that's good for you. But for now, I am going to end stream here and I'm going to be over on Twitch and you can go find me there. And I know, and I appreciate, like, some of you were like, don't go to Twitch. I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Listen, I don't like the UI. There's a lot of things I don't like about Twitch. There's a lot of things I don't like about Twitch, but I'm kind of stuck over there for now. We're going to be doing more YouTube streams, okay? So look forward to that. I think the future is on YouTube, and that is definitely true for me. So much love, YouTube. You are my favorite. You are my favorite platform right now, honest to God. So I will see you over on Twitch, though. The awful hell world that is Twitch. And Moe Kyun.